Order of Villa Park Village Board. Today's June 22nd at 7 p.m. Clerk Kornecki, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Salella?
Here.
Trustee Kazone?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Patrick?
Here.
Trustee Tucker?
Here.
Trustee Wagner?
Here.
President Wolfus?
Here, let's all rise for the pledge and then remain standing for a short prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Trustee Wagner has a prayer for us.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents, staff, businesses, surrounding communities, and all those that enter the village of Villa Park. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. And I'd like to offer a special intention for those who are suffering from the coronavirus and those who have passed. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Anybody have any comments on any agenda item? That'd be number 4 through 8C.
I have no one signed up for that.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move down to any amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Seeing none, we'll move down to the presentation for the 2019 audit presentation. So I think what we have, Nick Bava? So he's here. We're going to get the audio, but we won't have any visual. So, okay. How do we get him to sign in? Nick?
Okay.
Or do you sign it to speak?
Oh, it's too late. You had an agenda item or you had a non-agenda
No,
item?
not agenda.
Okay, we'll get to you at the end. Patrick, we asked Glenn in there. What is going on?
We could start with interim finance director, Susan Griffin.
Do you have something? Okay, he should be up in a minute. Oh, okay, but we don't hear him. Yeah, we're waiting for Nick. Okay, Nick Bava?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
All right, we're doing fine, and we can hear you just fine. Just talk up a little bit louder, please.
Great. Would you like me to jump into my presentation?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, great. It's nice when the technology is able to work. Well, thank you everyone for taking some time out of your night to allow Sikich LLP to present the audit for the village. As you're probably aware, my name is Nick Bava, and I am the Senior Audit Manager for the village's audit. Ultimately, as part of the audit for the December 31st, 2019 fiscal year, we issue 7 separate reports. Of those reports, the largest of the documents is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. The second is the auditor's communication to the Board of Trustees and Management. The third is the management letter that's required by Illinois compiled statutes. The fourth is the TIF compliance report for the village's TIFs number 2 through 6. The fifth is the IMRF allocation report, which accounts for the allocation of the net pension liability between the village and the library. The sixth is the single audit report, which applies to the village this year since the village spent beyond $750,000 in federal grant funding. And then the last is the assistance we provide in filing the comptroller's annual financial report. Tonight, I'll briefly highlight some items throughout the comprehensive annual financial report, which I'll refer to as the CAFR going forward, but I'd be happy to answer any questions after my presentation that the board may have on any of the reports that we've issued. So for those following along tonight, the first section I'd like to address is the independent auditor's report, which if you're following along, it's on pages 1, 2, and 3. And when I reference page numbers, I'll be referring to the page numbers at the bottom of the report, not the Adobe PDF number that you'll see at the top left of your screen. I'll actually be referring to the page numbers associated with the audit report. So like I mentioned, for those following along, it's pages 1, 2, and 3 for the independent auditor's report. So to start,
Okay, yeah.
the middle paragraph.
Nick?
Yes.
We don't have any video, so thank you for pointing out the page numbers for us. So I appreciate
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to do that going forward. So as part of page number 1, the middle paragraph titled Management's Responsibility for the Financial Statements. This ultimately just states that it is the village management's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the village financial statements, and they're to be reported and recorded in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles that are set in the United States. The third paragraph, auditor's responsibility, documents that our responsibility as the village auditor is to express an opinion on these financial statements, which is based on audit procedures set through generally accepted auditing standards. So if we shift to page number 2, halfway down that page, you'll see an opinions paragraph. Based on our audit and based on the procedures performed, the financial statements that I referred to at the beginning present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the village's governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the village as of December 31st, 2019. This is what is referred to as an unmodified opinion, a quote-unquote clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we as auditors can provide here in the United States. So we commend the village on obtaining this opinion specifically for their financial statements. If we move to page 3 of the independent auditor's report, the last paragraph is titled Other Reporting Required by Government Auditing Standards. This paragraph is specific to the village's single audit during the 2019 fiscal year. As I mentioned earlier, we issued a separate single audit report. It is required when a government expends beyond $750,000 of federal grant money. And in the 2019 fiscal year, the village had significant grant activity. There were 2 programs that drew the village beyond that $750,000 balance. Both were the CDBG grants, the Community Development Block Grants, specific to the Princeton Avenue project and then the Jackson Pond project. So those are primarily what caused the single audit this year, and those were the programs that we audited as part of the single audit. So with that, there are certain compliance procedures that are required to be underwent, and there are 2 opinions that are issued as part of this single audit. One opinion relates to the laws and regulations in compliance with internal control over financial reporting, which we issued an unmodified opinion on. The second is the opinion over major federal programs, which, as I mentioned, relates to the CDBG programs, those 2 projects that were considered major this year. So with that, we issued 2 unmodified opinions. They are clean opinions, and they're the highest level of assurance that we can provide on a single audit. So big picture, pages 1, 2, and 3, there are 3 separate opinions. All 3 are unmodified, and they're the highest level of assurance. So we commend the village on their hard work this year in obtaining that achievement. If we shift 2 pages down, you're going to find the section that's titled Management's Discussion and Analysis. The bottom of that page is page MD&A number 1. So this section is prepared by the Village Finance Department. It's reviewed by the village manager, and then it's also reviewed by us as the auditors to ensure that the information within this document is consistent with the financial statements, and that it's also consistent with what's required through generally accepted accounting principles. If we were to recommend that the board read any section of this CAFR, it's these 10 pages. It's a very well put together MD&A, and it does a great job of providing context as to why certain information and why numbers change from 2018 to 2019. As we all know, these comprehensive annual financial reports can be very large and they contain a lot of different statements. These 10 pages do a great job of condensing that information down in a way that the user and the reader can understand what happened during the fiscal year. So it's very well put together, and we definitely recommend, if you're going to read any section, these 10 pages are a great place to start. Shifting into the financial statements, I'd like to direct your attention to pages 4 and 5. So I'll give everyone a second to get to pages 4 and 5. These two pages are referred to as the statement of net position. This is the village's long-term perspective balance sheet. So these two pages differ from every other balance sheet that's in the financial statements in that they include all of the village's long-term activity that extend beyond 1 year. So with that, this includes all of the village's capital assets. It includes all of the village's long-term liabilities, such as the general obligations bonds payable, the net pension liabilities, things of that nature that are recorded under the economic resources measurement focus on the full accrual basis of accounting. This provides the reader with a very long-term perspective for village operations. On page 5 of this statement, all the way towards the bottom, you'll find the net position section. The bottom line in the net position section says unrestricted parenthesis deficit parenthesis. So if we look at the governmental activities column, you'll note that there is an unrestricted deficit of $35.6 million for the village's governmental activities. This is not uncommon in terms of how this statement reads for a lot of municipalities in Illinois, primarily because of what was required 4 or 5 years ago with the implementation of GASB Statement 68 and now more recently GASB Statement number 75. The village is required to report all of their pension liabilities related to their police and fire pension plan, their IMRF pension plan, and now the other post-employment benefits that are actuarially determined into a liability. So when we peel the layers back on this unrestricted deficit figure, of that number, about $54 million relates to those pension liabilities. So when we factor out that number, the village is really truly operating with a unrestricted positive net position figure of about 18 to 19 million. Like I mentioned, this is very common for municipalities, as I'm sure the board knows. The police and fire function and the recognition of these liabilities causes a significant drawdown on any positive unrestricted net position since the implementation of GASB Statement number 68. So if we shift one column over to the business type activity section, I just want to highlight that as of December 31st, 2019, the village is operating with a 3.3 approximately unrestricted positive net position. And these activities are made up of the village's water utility, the wastewater utility, and then the swimming pool. Those three make up the business type activities. Overall for the year, big picture for business type activities, there was a positive change in net position of about $700,000 to $800,000, but mainly when you look at revenues versus expenditures, it was closely aligning with a break-even year. So the next pages that I'd like to direct your attention to are just a few pages down, page number 8 and 9. Pages 8 and 9 are the governmental funds balance sheet pages. Now, as I mentioned on the previous statement, that statement included all of the long-term activity for the village's balance sheet. This statement differs from that statement in that it excludes all of the long-term debt and all of the long-term liability, the pension liabilities, the long-term capital assets, things of that nature. These statements are recorded on the current resources measurement focus under the modified accrual basis of accounting, in that it provides the reader with a more short-term perspective as it relates to the village's receivables that are collectible within 1 year and their payables that are due and payable within 1 year. So the one number I'd like to direct your attention to is the bottom of page number 8 under the general fund column. The fund balance section is the bottom of page number 8, and if you look at the bottom line, it reads unassigned. So in the general fund at the end of the fiscal year has a positive unassigned fund balance of just above $6.6 million. When we compare that to village general fund expenditures for the year of about $21.6 million, that ratio of unrestricted fund balance to expenditures incurred is about 31% for that ratio. I like to point this out because the village has established a fund balance policy that has a minimum target of 25% for this particular ratio. So when you look at what's reserved in the general fund from an unrestricted fund balance standpoint, they're in compliance with that policy and then some. So I'd like to point that out as, as commending them for the being fiscally responsible in terms of building that reserve up. The next section I'd like to direct your attention to is page number 12. Page number 12 stays on the governmental funds current resources measurement focus, but this is the income statement. So if we look at the total column on the far right, the third number from the bottom reads $7,168,076. This is the change in fund balance for all of the village's governmental funds for the year. So in short, that includes the general fund, it includes your capital projects funds, debt service funds, special revenue funds like the motor fuel tax. Overall, the change in fund balance for the current year was a positive $7.168 million. When we peel back the layers on that number, the big reason for that change relates to the issuance of the 2019 A, B, and C general obligation bonds payable. So in the funds, those bonds come in and are reported as an inflow, as a revenue of sorts, which causes the fund balance to come up because it's collection of cash. On the long-term perspective balance sheet that we talked about earlier, you're recognizing that as a liability on the face of the balance sheet. So overall, when we pull out the issuance of those 3 bonds, the village had a small net loss from a fund balance standpoint of around $900,000 to $100,000. I'm sorry, $900,000 to $1 million. In the end, comparing revenues to expenditures amongst all of the general governmental funds, they are very comparable, and this year can be compared to a break-even style year. So that will cover what I'd like to discuss from a financial statement standpoint. The last 3 sections I'd like to talk about begin on page 82. So I'll give everyone a second to find page 82.
Excuse me one second, I hate to interrupt, I really do, I know it's classless, but I'm looking at the radar. I gotta go home and I gotta fight the dragon again because we're having another 100-year rain. We had one a month ago. My house is gonna flood, I gotta dash out of here, it's gonna pour tonight, and we need sewers on our street. We've been lied to every year for the last 5 years. I put off putting in the check valve, put it off, because next year we're getting sewers. Next year's here, and we're not getting sewers. And I hate to do this, I'm sorry, but I gotta go.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Okay, Nick, go ahead.
So on page 82, this is the beginning of the required statements for the village's participation in their certain pension plans. So page 82 documents the village's participation in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. So if we look at the 2019 column, you'll see that the second figure down is $2.4 million. And that's the village's respective share in the net pension liability for their participation in the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. Comparing to 2018, you can see to that number on the left, the net pension liability dropped significantly from 6.3 million to 2.4 million. A big reason for that is the strong investment year that the market had in 2019, which will directly correlate in a decrease in your net pension liability. So overall, when you look at 2019, the bottom percentage ratio is showing that the village is approximately 94 to 95% funded for their IMRF plan. So it's a very healthy plan ratio. Shifting to page 85, just a couple pages down, this is where we report the information for the village's police pension plan in a similar schedule in the net pension liability for the village. So if you're looking at the 2019 column, the fourth figure from the bottom is 26.368 million. So that is the actuarially determined net pension liability as of December 31st, 2019 for the police pension plan. When you compare that to 2018, you can see that that number dropped by about $2.4 to $2.5 million. Again, because the village is on a calendar year-end fiscal year, the 2019 market had a strong return for the village's plan, and it had a net investment income of about $5.1 million during the year. So that attributes to the decrease of about $2.5 million. And when you look at the percentage ratio right below, the village is funding at about a 55% funded status, which compared to most municipalities in Illinois, as I'm sure the board is aware, that is very consistent across the board in terms of material nature of these liabilities and how villages are funding them through 2040 and through the actual determined process. Shifting to page 87, we'll cover the same schedule, but for the village's fire pension plan. So page 87, the fourth number from the bottom is just above 20 million. So that is the fire pension net pension liability, which you can see had an increase of about 3.2 million from 2018, which is a little different from the results of the police pension plan. And I just want to point out that the increase in the fire side relates to changes in actuarial assumptions. The village lowered their discount rate assumption from 5.9 to 5.2, which is the assumed rate of return on investments. So because of that, that increased the liability significantly from 16.8 to 20 million. The fund itself had a good investment year and it had a net investment income of 3.1 million, but that's the primary reason for the increase when you compare police versus fire. Overall, the plan's funding at 50%, which is consistent across the board year over year. And it's also, as I mentioned about the police side of things, it's consistent from what we see with most municipalities that have the public safety function and are required to record and report these liabilities. So with that, that's all I would like to cover as part of the CAFR this year. I just would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to the finance department throughout the audit process. You know, we pride ourselves at Sikich for performing a thorough audit, and this year, as for obvious reasons, has been unique in terms of working primarily from the remote environment, and everybody that we've worked with throughout the process has been very proactive and very diligent in terms of working through this process. So I, you know, on behalf of, you know, the audit team, I just would like to say thank you for everyone's hard work. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Well, first off, Nick, thank you for that. I spent a good part of Saturday, most of the morning, reading over all the reports and looking at the figures. Of course, this is a snapshot from where we were at the end of last year. Since then, a lot of things have changed. Some of these numbers that you reported look rather encouraging, but we all know what happened to the stock market, so we're aware of what that did to the pension plans. That's all changed. And the same way with our fund balances, we have, just pointing out that we have obligations coming up that we have no idea what they're going to be. So with that, does anybody from the board have any questions for Mr. Babiak? Okay. Well, we don't have any questions, Nick, and we appreciate for all your work and for this new territory you were in with our staff and doing everything remotely. I know that was a challenge probably for you as it was for us. So thank you very much, Nick.
Yes, certainly. I hope everyone stays well and healthy. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. This gentleman here, you came in late. Do you have a comment on an agenda item or a non-agenda item or none at all?
It's more of a personal item.
Okay, so it'll be a non-agenda item, so we'll get to that toward the end. Okay. All right, we'll move down to the consent agenda, which is the minutes from the board meeting held on June 8th, 2020, and the bill listing for the weeks of June 8th and June 15th, 2020, in the total amount of $496,678.07. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Kazone?
Mr. President, I'll make that
Do we
motion.
have a second? Trustee Wagner?
I'll second that
Any
motion.
questions? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Sillella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, which is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, establishing temporary executive powers pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 3, Section 8-301 to 308 of the Villa Park Municipal Code and 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 of the Illinois Municipal Code. And this is a ordinance that extends the temporary executive powers contained in Ordinance 4155, approved by the Village Board on June 8, 2020, until such time as the Village Board can reconvene in open meeting. Do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee
second.
Sayala? Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Sillella?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. That passes. We'll move on to 8A, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a final change order number 1 to the contract with Earthworks Land Improvement and Development Corporation for the Jackson Pond Overflow Project for a net deduction in the amount of $34,712.50. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Staff requests approval of proposed final change order number 1, which consists of the balancing of contract quantities as measured in the field. The net amount of this proposed final change order number 1 is a deduction of $34,712.50 for an adjusted final contract amount of $1,737,131.50. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Kazone?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Sillella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes, that passes. We'll move on to item 8B, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving the contract for purchase and sale of the village-owned property, owned surplus property located at 257 to 277 East North Avenue to CA Properties Acquisitions LLC. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The village was approached by Shoot Point Blank, a gun shop gun range, indicating its interest in purchasing the village-owned property at 257 to 277 East North Avenue for $1.1 million. The typical Chicago area Shoot Point Blank location is approximately 16,000 square feet and employs 25 people. It is estimated that the store will generate between 5 and 6 million in revenue annually. The developer's total investment will be approximately 4.5 million. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kazone?
Mr. President, I'll make that motion.
Trustee Tiara?
I'll second that motion.
Just like to point out to the board members that because we are a municipality and we're selling property, this requires a more than a majority vote for this to pass. So we need 2/3, so we need, for this to pass, we need 5 affirmatives, okay? Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, President Bolfus. I'd just like to offer a comment. I plan on voting for this reluctantly. I don't like the idea. I have nothing against gun ownership. I think sportsmen, hunters, et cetera, is part of Americana, but I just feel very uneasy about it, but I realize the village's financial situation, that we've been trying to dispose of this property for a long time, and that this is going to provide much needed revenue for the village, and if we would have to have a gun shop, gun range in town, probably North Avenue is the best place for it, since it's not relatively far away from a residential area. So just want to let folks know, I know there'll be residents unhappy with this decision, but I'm going to reluctantly vote in favor of this. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'll chime in here. You know, the word had been out there that we had somebody who wanted to buy this property, wanted to put up a cannabis facility. But unfortunately, they haven't received a license to sell cannabis, and we don't have any idea when that license will be put out. There's only about 75 licenses, if I remember right, that the state's going to pass out, and there's many more applicants for it. So that offer that we received at least over a year ago, I think it was, wasn't it? It's just been on hold, and in my opinion, the probability of getting it is was rather slim. So, and I agree with Trustee Wagner. This one, I would have preferred to have the cannabis at that location, but having gone to one of the Shoot Point Blank's facilities out in Naperville, he has a number of them around the country, and very impressive, very nice building, and the security was outstanding, and it was very well run. So I just wanted to point that out to the trustees, that the cannabis one, we just can't wait forever for a bird in the bush. So, so with that, anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
No.
Trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
No.
Trustee Kazone.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Bolfus.
I too vote yes. So that passes. So we'll get on that final paperwork as soon as we can. So, okay, with that, we'll go on to 8C, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a contract with the United Enterprises LLC of Brookfield, Illinois, for construction of the Michigan Ave Improvement Project, central to Kenilworth, in an amount not to exceed $1,328,629 and, for some reason, 90 cents. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Michigan Avenue Improvement Project is proposed in the Village of Villa Park's Capital Improvement Plan. The scope of work of the project includes street improvements, combined sewer separation, and selective water supply and sanitary sewer repairs on South Michigan Avenue from Central Boulevard to Kenilworth Avenue. The project is expected to be awarded a $550,000 State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity grant for partial funding for the construction of the street improvements. United Enterprises LLC of Brookfield, Illinois submitted the lowest responsible bid for the project. Staff recommends approval of a contract with United Enterprise for construction of this project in an amount not to exceed $1,328,629.90. Funds are budgeted for this expense in the Street Improvement Referendum Fund, Water Supply Fund, Wastewater Capital Fund, and Wastewater Combined Sewer Separation Fund. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do you have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
I'd like to make that motion, Mr.
Do I
President.
have a second? Trustee Wagner?
I'll second the motion.
Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Tucker?
I just want clarification. We're doing combination sewer separation and selected water supply and sanitary sewers repair. What does that actually mean? I mean, when you're saying you're separating all these pipes, we've got several pipes going in? What's it actually mean when you're saying you're separating all these?
You want to answer that?
Would you like me to, Your Honor?
Sure, go ahead.
That or Director Guerrero?
Well, here it is, Michael Guerrero's here. He'd be happy to answer that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think to answer your question, separation of pipes is we're actually separating the storm sewer off the combination of the sanitary pipe. So the selective water and wastewater services are usually there's conflicts that when we put the new pipe in the ground that we have to account to reconnect those water services and the sanitary. And then also normally we also, oh, I'm sorry. Do you need me to redo it?
No, go ahead.
And then if we find some issues when we're in the process of constructing, we want to repair those locations while we're there and not leave any poor infrastructure in the ground.
So are we putting new pipes in the area, or are we reconnecting piping
So-
that's there after we,
We'll be putting a new storm sewer in, so all the new sewer for the storms will be brand new. And then the remainders, the water and the sanitary service connections will just be reconnected where needed, where there's conflict. So it won't be all new there. It would just be selective locations that are needed to make sure that we don't have any conflicts between the new infrastructure.
so that's where it says selective, some of them are joined because the old pipes were not actually putting
True.
brand-new pipes totally in.
Correct. We'll be
Yeah.
running the new sewer next to the old sewer, so at that locations, we have to reconnect the storm sewer, or the sanitary sewer, where that new sewer for the storm is going in.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Stalella?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. And that passes, and we'll move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Clerk Konecki, is anyone signed up?
Yes, Kathy Halloran
Okay.
signed up.
Kathy Haldoran?
Halloran.
Halloran, yeah, H-A. Yeah, my name is Kathy Halloran, and I live 538 East Wildwood. It's Wildwood in Monterey. That is the original Villa Park Woodruff subdivision, circa 1908. So we have two homes that are on the historical plaques. The one's at 24 South Monterey, it's called the Steiner House, and the 37 South Oakland, it's called the Hubbard House. My husband Luke and I moved here in July of 2000 with our 3 young children. This is not the same Villa Park that we moved into 20 years ago. I'm going to reference the St. Charles TIF redevelopment and ordinance number 4077. And that's dated April of 2019, which is approving a real estate sale contract for the purchase of 100 and 110 South Villa Avenue, which was AK Mulch and Landscape Supply Company. So this ordinance, back in 2019, induced the owner to sell the subject property, commonly known as 631 East Wildwood. Further down, you have reducing certain of the blighting conditions, which AK Mulch on Villa, I guess it's blighting. Redevelopment project area. Believe it to be in the best interest of the village and its residents to purchase the subject property. Well, AK Mulch, the landscape supply company, is now my neighbor. So they were here. This is Ovaltine. This is my house. This used to be AT&T. It's now AK Mulch. This is still zoned as M1, light industrial. But there are semi-trucks. There's only way to get to AK Mulch is down Monterey, which has a no truck sign, big deal. Down Oakland, or down Wildwood. And they're just streaming down Wildwood. Semi-tractor trailers, 53-foot semi-tractor trailers delivering stone, trucks from barge. They're Z-plates, they're 77 to 80,000 pounds of trucks up and down the residential street. Coming down Oakland, there's a 4-year-old boy that lives right here at the corner. There's a 9-year-old boy that lives here. There's another young family that lives on Oakland here. I am a resident of Villa Park. This is not in my best interest or my neighbors. This is only in the best interest of the village, period. So after 112 years from 1908, the best the village can do, the Garden Village, is a parking lot. and call it redevelopment. I've lived here since 2000, like I said. We've experienced severe flooding. I'm gonna guess because of development of Ovaltine and Trustee Tucker to your, with this whole sanitary sewer, stormwater situation, come 2008, we have 4.5 feet of water and sewage in our basement. 2010, 4.5 feet of water and sewage in our basement. 2013, 4.5 feet of water and sewage in our basement. 2020, a month ago, I barely saved our basement. Our neighbor, Chris, who just moved in October, 4.5 feet of sewer water, sludge, with a newborn baby in his basement. He had to vacate his property. I don't know what he's paid, $315,000. I have no idea what he's gonna do, but he's screwed. That's all I can say. So at the last meeting, Trustee Tucker, I know you mentioned the purchase of a pump. It's not saving Rotary Park. There was an additional Resolution 19-53, an additional almost $500,000, $430,000 spent on the development of 631 East Wildwood and Rotary Park site improvements. Well, we don't have a Rotary Park anymore. There's no playground, there's no baseball field, there's a canopy with no picnic tables, and it flooded. And the Monday after the Sunday severe flooding, which, like I said, I barely saved our basement. Monday afternoon, there's a pump running, and I'm like, what the heck is this noise? Because I'm sitting right here. Go over, there's a big pump, and there's a big powwow on the Salt Creek Trail. I don't know. It's not solved at all. And now, our problem's worse because AK Mulch is my neighbor. I don't know what to do with that, except I will love my neighbor. But this is a serious problem the village created. The village created this problem for 37 homes in the Woodruff subdivision. There are 37 homes here and a business, the bridal shop. And I don't know what to do about it. I want to be part of the solution. I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. I'd like to call it my home, but I have to honestly say at this point, after 20 years, it's providing shelter. And that's it. It provides shelter. It's not a home. But again, I do want to be part of the solution, and I really don't want to be collateral damage, which really, at this point, we are collateral damage. Thank you.
I believe the Traffic and Safety Commission you went to, they're looking into it, and they're doing studies on the traffic and the speeds and that.
What are you going to
So-
do? The AK Mulch is my neighbor.
Okay.
It's just a fact. So it's kind of like this point forward. I can only tell you, 5 in the morning, it feels like you're living on 83.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything, sir?
Yeah.
State your name, please.
Sign-in sheet is there.
There's a sign-in sheet. Is there a pen up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my name's Chris Molitor. I live at 139 West Adams Street, and again, more water problems, because there's an alley adjacent to my property, and the water runoff, for 20 years since I moved in, it's been running off, deteriorating my backyard, deteriorating the backyard of my neighbors, and it's become an eyesore. And I've talked to the village numerous times, and they did put in a manhole cover, but nobody's ever come out, looked at the problem, where the water was running off while it was raining. I took a video today during the storm, so you could see exactly where it's running. I'd be happy to send it to you, or
You can look at it now if you'd like, but it is just, you know, it's been an eyesore and just, you know, ever since they put the manhole, you know, they put a storm sewer in, and I asked them to put 2 manhole covers in, you know, two pipes in, one closer to the street or closer to, you know, towards the back of my house, and then one towards the lowest area of the yard. That wasn't done. They just put one in back. They never soiled the alley and made sure the water was running towards the sewer. So this thing, it's, you know, all the work they did, it was just equivalent of putting lipstick on a pig. It did absolutely nothing. So, and, you know, me and my neighbors would like for the village to fix the alley, pave it, and possibly maybe put in another manhole cover and make sure all the water runs down to the sewer and out of my yard. I mean, my yard's probably deteriorated probably a good foot since I moved in 1999. So that's all I have. If you'd like to see the video, I'll show you the video.
You send it to me, okay?
Okay, I will do that.
All right.
Thank you.
So 139 West Adams, right?
That's correct.
All right, anyone else? I guess not.
No,
Okay, with that, we'll move on to the clerk's report.
no report, thank you.
Okay, we'll start with trustee Patrick on trustee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to congratulate everybody. We are just about in phase 4 of this, so we've made it so far. Keep doing a good job. Remember social distancing, and stay safe out there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Ciala?
No report this evening.
Trustee Kazone?
I'd like to kind of just go on that, what Trustee Patrick said. It's good to be out again, seeing people going to our businesses or eating outside, hopefully practicing social distancing. It's kind of difficult when you have a lot of people, but it's good to see people out again. One other thing, the Community Pride Commission meeting, which is scheduled for tomorrow, will not be held. It's been canceled for tomorrow. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Wagner?
Thank you, President Foltis. I just have a couple things. First off, I just want to congratulate Tri-Town YMCA. They recently received an award from the state of Illinois for their meal program. And just want to also remind folks that Tri-Town YMCA is still passing out meals at all the schools in District 45, and they do need volunteers. And last Friday, they had their barbecue fundraiser, and they served over 300 barbecue meals, and it was pretty successful.
You were very good.
Yes, and they replaced their golf outing, so I'm not sure if they're going to continue that in the future, but it was great. I also want to let folks know that our local DUCAP group, which is calling itself Impact Villa Park, they're going to have they're going to do a service project this coming Saturday, June 27th, from 10 a.m. until noon. They'll be cleaning the Great Western Trail, and of course they'll be following all the rules in terms of being masked and social distancing, and then there'll be a little gathering afterwards at the pavilion. So hope folks might be able to come out to that event. They're especially looking for local teenagers, youth in the area to participate. Wanted to mention that the Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee will be meeting at 6 p.m. here at Village Hall, and then and that's on Thursday, this Thursday of this week, and then immediately after that, the Environmental Concerns Commission will be holding their regular meeting. So this is their first meeting in 3 months. Also want to mention that the Christian Church of Villa Park and other churches will be holding the Love Your Neighbor Day again this year. That'll be on Saturday, September 19th. They're going to change that program a little bit. They won't be working inside residents' homes, but they'll be doing yard work for those that need it. So hopefully if we have any residents that need that, need work, especially seniors, they're looking to help out as well. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to our Villa Park Police, the Villa Park Fire Department, for their great service last Sunday. We had a peaceful protest, which was very peaceful. Started at Willowbrook High School. There were a number of faculty members present. Principal Dan Kraus spoke as well to the group. It was very well, it was peaceful. People expressed their views. They marched, they came back and spoke again, and they did so with the protection of the police and the fire. And so just want to say appreciation for that. And we have a great community, and everyone was very respectful during that event. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Tucker.
I just want to hit off of, on the peaceful protest, I was very amazed and thankful for the residents and the people that did march in that they did keep it peaceful and that they respected each other as they spoke to get their opinions out without conflict. And I was very happy for us and our village that they did that and honored us in that way, that they could state their opinions without causing uprise, which is happening in a lot of other cities. The other point is I'm excited to move into the next phase, and I'm hoping that our residents of Villa Park will keep honoring that so we can keep moving through the phases quickly and not cause issues that they have in Chicago and other areas, that we can continue moving forward, because I like to see all our business open as soon as possible. And that's all.
Okay, thank you.
And remember to visit our businesses that are open and support them. It's really important for them to get back on their feet, that we, you know, buy and stay in Villa Park.
Thank you. Trustee Murphy?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay. I just have a couple things. You should probably notice that Village Hall is opening somewhat. This week is our soft opening. We've been closed for quite a while. On Friday will be, the soft openings will be over, so we will be open at the Village Hall and all the village buildings. Again, you have to wear face masks when you come in. We'd appreciate that a whole lot. So we have been very fortunate over this time that our staff has remained healthy. So we're trying to keep it that way. So yes, we are moving into stage four. Things are opening up more. We just got the notice today from the governor's office about stage 4 and some of the things that we're allowed to do as far as occupancy. For you people who have been asking me about the playgrounds are not mentioned in here at all. So we'll try to get a little more clarification on that from the health department. I do know that the city of Chicago is leaving their playgrounds closed. So there'll be a lot more questions we have to work through. Things will keep changing. We're in phase 4, but as you can read, phase 5 is a long way away because that needs a vaccine or a cure. So hopefully there might be a stage 4.1 or stage 4.2 or something like that, that things can be relaxed. The governor's thing is available on the state website, his direction. So that's, glad to hear that, but please everybody continue to practice your social distancing, continue to wear the masks. We don't want to have to go backwards, because I don't think, well, we just don't want that to happen, so. Also, we've had some meetings with the Page mayors and managers and the county about the CARES Act money and the amount of money, hopefully, that Villa Park is going to get from the federal government, and how that's going to be distributed to us through the county. And it's going to hopefully be based on, the way it looks right now, on per capita of like, was it $51.84 per capita? And that would put Villa Park at about receiving 1.1 million. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be enough. Our expenses are going to be more than that. And that has nothing to do with the revenue that we lost. This is just money for our extra costs and that we're having to absorb right now for COVID-19 protections. Yeah, Manager, can you have any idea, estimate on what we're looking at so far with the COVID cost total?
So right now, Your Honor, without using salaries, we're probably someplace for commodities right around 60 to 70,000. But then when you put in salaries, it obviously takes us well over 100,000. And the CARES Act funding through DuPage County that they received from the federal government goes on through December 30th. And so by December 30th, we'll have plenty of cost to apply for the 1.1 million to draw that down. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, so you know, we get some help. You know, like this keeps going on and on and on, so who knows what the final cost is going to be. Hopefully it's close to the 1.1 million. As far as the lost revenue, we have no idea if we see any reimbursement from the government or federal government or anything about that. They're arguing about that in Washington. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Every community is talking to our representatives and senators about that issue. So, and that could be a substantial amount, as you're all aware, with all the businesses being closed. But in phase 4, we do have some things starting to open up a little bit, and I asked Director Gola from the Parks Department if he could give us a little update on that, Director. So here he comes. There are some things that are loosening up, so let's have a little good news at the end here.
Good evening. It's good to see everybody. So right when phase 3 happened, we were able to open up our daycare. So that happened on June 8th, and then last week we opened day camps. Registration is a little slow, but it's picking up, so we'll run those through. Well, daycare will go all year long. Day camps will run June, July, and August. So those things are happening right now. We have outdoor programs, outdoor line dancing, yoga in the park. Our senior coordinator has organized some senior luncheons over at CRB a couple times a week. We're keeping it under, or 10 and under. And then we're prepping for most of our other recreation programs to start in July. The youth baseball leagues, travel teams are going to be starting their gameplay in July. So they've been out practicing. So we've been prepping the fields for them. What else do I have? Playgrounds, not sure on when our playgrounds can open, so we have to get some clarification on when we can open playgrounds. So we'll find that out, and as soon as we can open them, we're going to remove that fencing and clean them off and get them ready to go. A couple of big things we have, 4th of July in the box. So staff is prepping a box of goodies for residents to purchase. We've sold 31 of them already. I think it's 31. And that includes like glow sticks, s'mores for 4, bike decorations. What else do I have? Water balloon kit, and some festive accessories. Don't really know what that is because they didn't want to tell me. It's a surprise for people. So it was well received. So a lot of people have registered already for that. And we're just anxious to get everybody back into our building and into our programs.
Great.
So, do we
Thank
any questions?
you. Thank you. So appreciate all your work. I know you've been reaching out to the seniors quite a bit every week, calling them on and see how they're doing.
We have, and they're very
face
appreciative.
masks. And
Yes, sir.
So that's really good. So,
Yeah.
and I know the people with young children are looking for some activities for them. So it seems to be a long summer when you've got kids at home all the time. So,
Yes, it is.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, we'll move on to the manager's report.
I'm passing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion for adjourn? Trustee Kazone?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Wagner?
I'll second the
All in
motion.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Be back on July 13th. Have a good 4th.